Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Morning, everybody. It is Cowboy. It's Wednesday, April 1st, 8:30 a.m. EST. And we're going to take a look at the charts today. Before we do, though, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. Half the people who watch this are not subscribed. So just hit the button. It's really easy. Also, we have a free algo in the description. If you go to the description, there is a link. And it is a very quick video. It's like 15 minutes where I build an algo. I turn it into code. You can kind of see these little marks on the screen right there telling me to go long. It's like that. Now, it's not this algo. That particular algo, you have to pay me $1 million if you want me to give you that code. However, otherwise, it is an algo, and you get to see me build it. And if you optimize it, we actually show you the tools that traders use to connect it to their broker so it can trade for them while they're not even at the computer. So that's pretty cool stuff. Looking at the NASDAQ, Trump said a few things on Monday, and it was like right after I did my Monday video. So unfortunately, it kind of threw a wrench in the works of what the predictions are. It's pretty typical, though. It's just what happens when you do forecasts. There's always unexpected things that can change it. And the NASDAQ was looking real scary there for a minute. It was going to head down. And then we had the Trump tried to say something kind of earlier in the day, and like nothing happened because it was clear he wanted to kind of throw some water on the Iran conflict, at least as far as the markets are concerned, kind of like he did here. Yeah. And then he tried it again and nothing happened, or very little happened. And so he made some comments, particularly that that he'd be willing to end the war without opening Hormuz. And he even made a comment, and Hegseth as well, that regime change has happened, is basically what both guys said, right? So basically saying things like, okay, we've accomplished what we want to accomplish. That's not exactly what he said, but that's what he said in so many words. Since then, the market has gone up. And those comments were not as well publicized as you would think, but the market has reacted. And it seems that for now it's holding. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, talk about some key points in the NASDAQ, and this will affect all the other markets, right? The NASDAQ is about to melt down. I'm just telling you right now, it was going to fall, and it was falling. It actually fell. I said it was going to fall. But if you look here, and I know I talked about this already, but long story short, you had a big move up from October 22 to February 25. And then you had the taper tantrum. It was more than the taper tantrum, but that's just an easy way to remember when it happened. Then you got a new high right here. Now, typically with these markets, what they do is they, as you can see back here, right? Let's look at what happened back here. You had the COVID crash, right? 2020. So what did the market do? Well, you had the COVID crash. You made a high right there, COVID crash, pressing all the way up to 17,000 in 2021, and it came back down right to where the COVID crash was. This low right here, if you draw a line, is the top of the COVID crash, right? So price comes down to the prior high and then launches off again. Well, we have a high here right before the Ukraine war, right? Right when the Ukraine war started. And then price made its low there, made a new high, came back and touched that Ukraine war, pre-Ukraine war high there, made a low right at that spot. Well, now we have the same thing again. We have the beginning of the taper tantrum, aka DeepSeek, and price basically came down and tapped that. Now, it might have a little more room to go, but essentially that's what it did. And I did say it was probably going to do that. And I did say that as that was probably going to happen, if and when, it probably would bounce. It happened a little sooner than I thought it would happen, because if you zoom in to a lower time frame, you'll see that it didn't quite touch that line. I thought we were going to see price head down a bit more, but the reality is that the market was panicking. And that's the line right there. I mean, that's pretty darn close. It's pretty darn close to that line. Let me see, the actual line was around 22,750 or so, and it made it to 22,950. So the reality is, it's kind of what I called. It's not just kind of, it's pretty much exactly what I said would happen. And I've been saying that for a long time. I've been saying that since like since price kind of started to fizzle, back in November, right? And this is just very typical market mechanics, right? It's just very typical price action in markets. And price started to go sideways. And have been saying for months that the NASDAQ is vulnerable. And finally, that vulnerability showed its face right here. And Iran started, and you saw price just kind of go sideways for a bit, but it slowly but surely, started to wiggle down. And then you made this low right there. Now, is it going to continue up? We don't know. Of course, we don't know the future. I think a lot of that's going to depend on what happens with Iran. And remember that we talked about this on the Rogue Show with Ben Colleran yesterday. The interruptions that have happened, right? Supply chain interruptions, all the stuff happening in Iran, stuff not getting through Hormuz. So a lot of it's getting through Hormuz now, and has been actually for a little longer than people know. There have been, Iran's letting their friends get through. The stuff's going to Asia now, and I mean, it hasn't really been completely locked down. Ships have been getting through, but understand that when you have supply chain problems for a month or two, that has what you call knock-on effects for the future. So there's a chance here that these markets might continue to tumble, but right now they are moving up on the optimism around Iran probably ending. It's just what it looks like is happening, right? So, that's where we are. And there's a lot of liquidity right here. So price, if it is not going to continue up, if it's only going to sort of maybe come and revisit this level down there, and it may, then we have to watch how it behaves in this liquidity area where price bounced back and forth a lot. There's a lot of liquidity in those areas, and price may reject here. It may not. We don't know what's going to happen. If I were to take a look at the stack, the algo stack here, it could turn around. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to say. It is the NASDAQ. So what tends to happen with the NASDAQ, it doesn't behave like a lot of other things. So it makes its low, and then the market comes in and just like pushes it up. Most things, based on like what the charts say, would hang out below that high for a while. Price would stay below this. The all-time high really is actually back here at what is that, 26,450, and price normally would stay below that for a while, for like a few months on most assets. But in this case, it is the NASDAQ. So when you get these lows, it, especially on an election year, you tend to see it rocket up after those lows. Just a strong move up into the election, right? So that's, now I know this, what we're looking at is 2025. That's not an election year per se, but that's how it behaves after these strong, hard moves down. It gets caught. And then now this is a little more normal, right? At least the move back up is like the move down, but very often NASDAQ just gets caught and launched up. So we'll see how it behaves. I think that just because of the way that it usually behaves, we'll see within a month or two this head back up. But it's hard to say. I mean, I think like $2 trillion was added to the market in the last 2 days. So, we'll see. We'll see if the right people want it to go up, and if they're willing to spend the kind of money that it takes, because a lot of the money in this market is AI, and AI is going to suffer with high oil prices. So really, really hard to say how that's going to go. We'll be watching, and the charts pretty much tell us what we need to know. Yeah. So this current move up, there's just, we'll have to see if it can sustain, if the energy can keep it pushing up, right? Quick look at Bitcoin. We have a little bit of time left before we go to the private live lab. Bitcoin's holding on, right? So, actually, let's not do that. I think I had some stuff on there I wanted to see. Shouldn't erase those. Zoom in a bit. Okay, so price was able to hold above 64 for now. And probably a bit of optimism coming in from the NASDAQ as well. That tends to happen with Bitcoin, although maybe, Bitcoin is, in my opinion, in the throes of going into the bear market. So whatever optimism we see may end up being short-lived. And I still am of the opinion and thesis that the current moves will be pushed down, right? You have a consolidation going back to, what is that, February? So there's a good chance that that's going to break down, going to head down. We'll see, but right now it's at a spot actually where it needs to either or get off the pot, right? It's time for Bitcoin to move, or if it can't, let me put it this way, if it cannot break 72,000 pretty soon, then it may be time for it to kind of break below 64, which should push it towards 60 and possibly 50. So we are at a key point, and it's just this has lasted long enough, and it is where we are in the market. So we might kind of get some of this, and then that, maybe something like that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's enough of charts. That's all we have time for here in the live lab. A link in the description, free algo. Click that link, and also subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. EST, to do the live show. Thank you all for watching, and we will catch you tomorrow.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.